Today, in Part 2 of Chapter 33 of Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, we will discuss Shloka 5, Rahu's Sun, Snakebite, in Karakamsa, Shloka 6, Abdominal Diseases and Water Diseases from Karakamsa, etc.
So, here is how we are going to break this explainer down. We will start by mapping out the soul's control room, then dive right into verse 5 to decode the infamous snakebite, followed by verse 6 on water and abdominal diseases. Finally, we will tie it all together with what this means for us practically today.
All right, let's jump straight into our first core concept, the soul's control room.
You can really think of the Karakamsa Kundali as the soul's architectural blueprint. I mean, we all know the main Rasi birth chart shows your physical environment, right? But the Karakamsa, that reveals your deep karmic intentions and your profound spiritual vulnerabilities. And crucially, for our analysis today, it shows the root spiritual causes of physical manifestations. It is, quite literally, the control room of your soul's journey in this lifetime. So, just to make sure we are all on the same page with the math here, let's quickly review how we actually cast this Karakamsa diagram. First, you find your Atmakarka, the planet in your main chart holding the absolute highest degree. Next, locate exactly where that planet sits in the D9 Navamsa chart. Got it? Then, simply take that Navamsa sign and treat it as the ascendant, or lagna. By doing this, you are effectively shifting your entire perspective away from the physical body, straight into the soul's energetic framework. Okay, moving on to the actual text. Let's look at verse 5, which deals with the Rahu and Sun conjunction. What we are looking at here is the authentic, original text from Maharishi Parashara. He is specifically detailing the Ravi-Rahu conjunction in the Swamsa, which, as we know, is just another term for the Karakamsa. Remember, these are not just some modern, New Age theories. We are talking about meticulous, mathematically based observations recorded thousands of years ago. Let's actually parse the original Sanskrit terms out, logically, into simple English components so you can see exactly how this meaning is built. Ravi is the sun, right? The ultimate indicator of the soul and vitality. Rahu is the north node, which brings eclipses, shadows, and hidden poisons. Then we have Yada, meaning when, and Swamsha, which confirms we are looking strictly inside the Karakamsa. Now, Sarpad means from a snake or serpent, Bithi translates to fear or danger, and Prajayate simply means is generated or arises. So, piecing all of that together, the simple English translation gives us a pretty stark, literal warning. It states, should Rahu and the sun be in Karakamsa, there will be fear from snakes. If a malefic aspects, it will bring death through serpents. On the surface, this is a very direct warning about the fatal dangers of venomous reptiles. It happens when the soul's light, the sun, is entirely eclipsed by the shadow of Rahu, right there in your deepest karmic chart. But wait, how do we actually interpret that today? Let's decode this snake bite. This is where the multi-layered nature of Vedic astrology becomes absolutely vital. While the literal astrological meaning definitely points to physical snake bites, venom, or literal poison, the philosophical meaning is so much deeper. It actually points to an eclipsed ego. We are looking at a soul destined to experience sudden, deep toxic karmas or hidden betrayals. Think about it. A snake strikes from the grass exactly when you least expect it, right? Similarly, this planetary combination indicates unseen, toxic spiritual forces striking right at the native's confidence and vitality. So in modern practice, we have to elevate this concept of a snakebite to fit our current environment. Practically speaking, this represents highly toxic relationships that just completely drain your vitality. It can also point to exposure to biological toxins, heavy metals, or even mysterious viral infections. On a social or professional level, it is a huge red flag for sudden attacks from hidden enemies. The kind of people who smile right to your face, but carry venom, betraying you exactly when you are most vulnerable. But here is a real game changer. Context changes everything. The text notes a major exception. If this Rahu and Sun combination happens to be in benefic Shadvargas, or if it is aspected by powerful benefics like Jupiter or Venus, the whole narrative flips on its head. The bitten actually becomes the healer. A native with this placement becomes so intimately familiar with poison that they often become a medical doctor, a toxicologist, or a pharmacist who treats poisonous afflictions. They brilliantly turn a deep karmic vulnerability into profound professional mastery. Now, let's logically transition from verse 5 into verse 6, which shifts our focus to abdominal and water diseases. When you look at the classical texts, you see how meticulously they map planetary afflictions directly to bodily domains. Maharishi Parashara explicitly warns of specific physical diseases when malefic planets disturb the delicate equilibrium of the Karakamsa. Because remember, the soul's chart directly governs the physical body's ability to maintain its elemental balance.
Let's parse the Sanskrit for verse 6. This one reveals a highly medical focus. First, we see the term jalodhara, which translates directly to water-related ailments, or edema, specifically, fluid retention in the belly. Then we have golma, referring to hard abdominal tumors, cysts, or spleen disorders. The text says this occurs when the karagamsa is papasamyukte, meaning severely conjoined with or afflicted by malefic planets. This points directly to severe, deep-seated imbalances of the water and earth elements within the physical body.
The direct English translation here is pretty uncompromising. It warns, when the Karakamsa or its related houses are severely afflicted by malefics, the native is subjected to abdominal diseases, tumors, and profound dangers from water. The ancient seers totally recognized that when the soul's core is under malefic duress, the physical body manifests that exact stress in its most vital processing center, the gut, and in its fluid dynamics.
Let's break down the specific planetary mechanics that actually trigger these elemental diseases. If the affliction involves the moon combining with Saturn or Rahu, the water element is corrupted. This leads to dangers of drowning, edema, or fluid accumulating in the lungs. Conversely, if Mars is afflicted by Ketu or other intense malefics, the earth and fire elements are disturbed. That leads to internal heat, abdominal tumors, and spleen issues. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is understanding this dual meaning. Literally, yes, the text warns of physical tumors and drowning, but philosophically, think about what the gut does. It is where we process nourishment. So an abdominal disease represents the soul's absolute inability to digest difficult life experiences and heavy karmas. Furthermore, a water disease signifies drowning in uncontrolled, stagnant emotions. The physical blockage you see in the body is really just a mirror of a deep emotional or spiritual blockage.
Practically speaking, when we look at today's charts, we are not just looking for literal drowning incidents. We diagnose these ancient terms as modern psychosomatic gut disorders. We are talking about things like IBS, Crohn's disease, or mysterious digestive blockages that mysteriously flare up during times of immense stress. It can also manifest as severe lymphatic blockages and deep-seated emotional stagnation, where the native just feels completely swamped or emotionally overwhelmed by their environment.
Which brings us to our final section, the modern significance of synthesizing all this. What this brilliantly demonstrates is that the Karakamsa is not merely some abstract, floating spiritual concept that we cannot touch. It is the literal control room that dictates highly specific, tangible, and physical material karmas in our lives. The soul's distress literally becomes the body's disease. So here is your highly practical, modern checklist for applying verses 5 and 6 in your own practice. First, always check the dignity of the Atmakaraka in the D9 chart. Second, scan for that eclipsing Rahu and Sun conjunction to warn of hidden toxic snake bites, whether that is in social circles or health. Third, rigorously assess any afflictions in water and earth signs to gauge digestive and fluid health. And finally, always look for those benefic aspects from Jupiter or Venus. Remember, they represent the ultimate karmic cure, turning a painful affliction into a powerful healing ability. You see, Maharishi Parashara didn't use terms like snake bites and drowning just to be poetic. He used these dramatic, visceral metaphors to illustrate the profound, inescapable, energetic tides of these planetary forces. They are meant to grab our attention and show us the sheer power of our underlying karmic currents. Which leaves us with a really powerful reflective question to end this explainer on. If you look closely at your own Karakamsa, your own soul's control room, what hidden venom, toxic relationship, or emotionally undigested karma are you being called upon to finally confront and heal? The map is there. It is simply up to us to read.